And for more now on that story, we cross live to our East Africa Bureau Chief, Robyn Kriel in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, for the latest. Robyn, what have you picked up overnight about the latest? Yes, we've had the confirmation that 3 South African soldiers have been injured since the weekend.
Well, yes, that's what we learned last night, Dan. And in addition to that, the first casualty of the Force Intervention Brigade thus far, a Tanzanian major, was killed by his wounds. He died of his wounds when a mortar exploded close by him. He obviously received a lot of wounds from shrapnel that was flying, and he died last night. Now, we understand that the 3 South Africans are in a stable condition. One private yesterday shot in the upper thigh by small arms, we understand, in the hills around Muningi. That's where most of the South Africans, part of the FIB, Force Intervention Brigade, are based. He is in a stable condition, apparently in a level 3 hospital in Goma. The other 2 South Africans are also stable, one injured on Friday by shrapnel and one injured yesterday by shrapnel as well.
Earlier on Morning News Today, we spoke to Brigadier Mabanga of the South African National Defence Force and asked him about the reports that we've picked up on the ground that Rwandese army may be involved with the M23. Do you know anything about possible involvement of the Rwandan army in this conflict?
Well, nothing that I've seen myself, but what I can tell you from the people that are on the ground that we're speaking to is that indeed soldiers from the Force Intervention Brigade say that they've seen resupplies coming across the border from Rwanda. Now, just to give you an idea of who these soldiers are, both from the SANDF and from the Tanzanian army, they're also Malawians. They have not joined the FIB just yet. But people from the SANDF include the Recce soldiers, that would be the South African Special Forces. They include people from reconnaissance. They include infantry battalions, those who are mortaring in support of the Congolese military against the rebels. So what we're hearing from members of the Force Intervention Brigade, and indeed what we've heard all along from the United Nations, is that Rwanda is indeed resupplying these M23 rebels crossing the border. In terms of seeing that ourselves, we've not. Obviously, Rwanda has unequivocally denied all of these claims throughout, saying that they have nothing to do with M23 at all. But indeed, the United Nations and the US just the other day, the State Department asking Rwanda to respect the DRC's territorial boundaries and also to not help M23 in any way.
Now, Robyn, are you picking up any indications from where you are about possible escalation of the conflict? It seems that this eastern city of Goma in the DRC is strategic for the rebels, and I think they're trying to get control of it.
It's incredibly strategic, and the rebels, from what we understand, are in the hills all around Goma, and they marched into Goma last November and took it with great ease. The FARDC Congolese military dropped their weapons and ran away, and the UN had to simply stand by and watch as rebels entered Goma and seized one of Congo's largest towns in one of the most strategic areas, a hugely mineral-rich area. So that was very, very insulting for them, and that's from what we understand, that was part of the impetus for the Force Intervention Brigade, a sort of group of the UN, from the UN's MONUSCO mission to the DRC, whose mandate is not just to help civilians and peacekeep, but also to neutralize rebel forces, to go after rebel forces and eradicate them. So yes, fighting will likely increase. You could see more injuries in the future. Indeed, we hope, obviously, that that's not the case. But according to my UN source, who's highly placed, said yesterday, the South Africans are now in with both feet. The Tanzanians lost a man last night, so they're all in now, and it could get more bloody. And obviously, we hope it doesn't, and the South African public needs to also be informed by the South African National Defence Force of exactly what's going on with their soldiers, so they don't have to worry about what their soldiers, indeed, if their soldiers are safe, if they're well equipped, if they're well trained, and how they're coping on the ground.
Thank you very much. There we're going to have to leave it. That's our East Africa Bureau Chief, Robyn Kriel.
News that moves. eNCA.com.